Now, one of the biggest questions that I ever get asked about regarding private investigators is, can they use GPS tracking devices? In today's video, I will try, keyword try, to answer this ever-puzzling question. Now, pretty much everything in this video, as well as any of my videos, is my personal opinion. I am not an attorney. I do not play one on YouTube, and I am not giving legal advice. First off, let me be very clear. There are many other ways to track someone besides a GPS tracker. Now, let's also look at the logistics of the usage of GPS trackers by private investigators. The most common usage for these types of devices is on a person's vehicle. Let me be very clear about one thing again. This is my opinion. I am not an attorney. I am not providing legal advice. In my humble opinion, the tracking device does not provide evidence of where a person is or where they have gone. Let me say that again. The tracking device does not provide evidence of where a person is or where they have gone. In fact, the tracking device does not provide evidence where the vehicle is or where the vehicle has gone. The tracking device provides information on the location and the places where the tracking device is and where it has gone. So if a private investigator uses a GPS tracker and relies solely on the software and the mapping capabilities to show where someone has been, who someone has been associating with, or what activities they may be involved in, well, folks, that, in my opinion, is highly defensible in a court of law. It does not prove anything except that maybe the tracking device was at a certain location at a certain time. The GPS tracking device system does not track the person, it tracks the device itself. Now, I know this may sound a bit nitpicky, but in our legal world, and that is where us professional PIs work, the legal world, it has almost zero grounds to stand on in court as evidence. Now, granted, civil matters, it may bear a little more credibility where the outcome is based on the preponderance of evidence rather than the higher standard of criminal matters where you must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The premise behind a PI using this is that they can safely and discreetly follow or surveil their target subject and gather video or photographic evidence at a distance, which sounds logical, sort of. But let's take a look at the potential legal ramifications of using these devices. First question in my mind is this: is the PI committing personal property trespass or any other type of trespass while attaching a GPS device to a vehicle? There are a lot of varying opinions of this, I am sure, and I would love to hear yours. Go down in the comments below and let me know. From my viewpoint, I would be trespassing on a person's personal property, the vehicle, if I am placing something on it that belongs to me. I am not even talking about trespass of real property, like going onto their driveway or into their garage. That is a huge concern of mine as well. And as a general rule, we private investigators cannot gather evidence through illegal means. Thus, if we are trespassing on real or personal property, we could be violating that premise of evidence gathering, as we may be breaking the law just placing the GPS tracker on the car. One of the arguments is if the vehicle is owned by a married couple. This very well may be held up in a court of law if the usage of a GPS tracker in itself is allowed, as there is already quite a bit of case precedence already set on it. So the big question, is it legal for a private investigator to use a GPS tracking device on their subject's vehicle? The big answer is it all depends on many differing factors. U.S. federal law, for instance, is quite silent on the topic. I really believe one day they will decide to take this up to the highest levels, but until then, we are at the mercy of our state and local laws. So the first thing you must do is check with your state laws. Many states have laws that outright disallow the usage of GPS trackers by private investigators. Some states have laws that outright allow the usage of these devices, with certain rules being applied and for certain purposes. And some states have laws that say nothing to the effect or regard of their usage. For many states, regardless of whether they have GPS tracking laws or not, also believe there are other laws in place that help curtail certain activities when it comes to using a tracking device. One way to look at it is that tracking where someone has gone is one thing, but surveillance on them may, depending on the activity level of the surveillance, become threatening and may be covered under harassment or stalking laws. Therein lies a huge risk of the private investigator who uses these. They run the risk of being seen by the subject of their investigation at every location they follow their subject to, thus leading the subject to become in fear for their life as they may feel they're being stalked. If your tracking software takes you to a strip mall parking lot with a grocery store and 10 other stores, the software does not tell you where the subject went. It just leads the PI to the car. So usually foot surveillance would follow to gain more intel and video evidence. Then if the subject goes to another shopping center with multiple restaurants, the PI has to once again go on foot surveillance to find the subject and see who they are with. Again, exposing his identity to the subject. And let's say next the subject stops at a pharmacy and a couple other quick stops on the way home, and there is the investigator trying to find them again to confirm their location. After a few times, the subject realizes she has seen this PI several times and starts to get worried. Now she starts driving a very circuitous route on the way home. She goes through some random parking lots really slow, notices the same car with dark tinted windows coming in shortly after she did and driving right towards her car. So she runs into a store and she calls the police. Now I know I took a perfect case scenario to look at, but this could happen in any type of case that you are working. You must weigh out the risks and the rewards involved for your case and your business. I have been told by many a PI that this is why I carry insurance. Well, you know what? I carry insurance too, a lot of it. And I have never had a claim, and I hope I never have to have a claim. Regardless of whether your state allows it or has no laws regarding it, you need to, as a professional private investigator, seriously consider all of the possibilities if you are considering using any type of tracking device. Many times the risk far outweighs the rewards for these types of cases. You see, the client's attorney is not going to defend you. The client's attorney may even throw you under the bus to protect their client. Whenever a client asks me if we can track someone, I say absolutely, and then I quote them the price for surveillance with 1 and 2 investigators, and I educate them on the risk of using electronic tracking devices.